Hey everybody, we're going to take an image that looks like this and turn it into this. And this is also a follow along episode. If you want to download the source image so that you can follow along in Lightroom, go to patreon.com/EWJ. Just click join for free. You can join with like Facebook, Google, I think maybe even LinkedIn, or just put in an email, give it a password, bam, you're there. Look for my download post from June 23rd, 2024. Okay, hit the pause button, grab that image. I'll meet y'all back here in just a second. Okay, you're back. Okay, cool. All right, well, this is the image that we're going to be playing with today. Now, you guys can see that I did this as a panoramic image. You know, doing panos, I just think they're kind of cool, to be honest with you. Yeah, they do take a little bit of work, and when you're using, have high resolution, it does take some time, but it does create some unique opportunities. Now, the problem that I'm having with this is there's actually part of this image that I really found interesting, and that is this section right down in here. So what we're going to be doing here today is that we're going to be using a combination of, we're going to be doing cropping. We're going to be also doing some different types of masking so we can select out what we're interested in, bring it out, and then tone down the parts of the image that we're not interested in. So let's go ahead and give this a try. So you might notice in the photo that I gave all of you that there is a lot of watermarks up there. Now, I've already uploaded my final product and a couple variations of it to be sold. So, of course, I had to, protect the image a little bit, but don't worry, it's not going to affect anything that we're working with here. So, what we have is this big panoramic image. Let's go ahead, and what we're going to do is we're going to turn on the cropping tool. And I am also going to change the aspect ratio to 1:1. We're going to do a square crop on this particular image. And then I'm going to bring that cropping down. And then while inside the image, I'm just going to grab it and drag to the part I'm interested in. I think I'm going to make the crop a little bit smaller here. Now, what I want you to do is just to put that part of the image, the bright area, right in the middle. I want to show you guys something here. All right. So let's go ahead, and what we're going to do is we're going to turn off the cropping tool. And now let's take a look at the image. And what I'm seeing here is this right here is a very distracting element. So I don't want to leave the crop quite in this position. I want to see if there's some way I could possibly use that shape, but let's see. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and re-engage the cropping tool. And then I'm going to move this over just slightly and move the area that we're interested in developing, or the area that we're really interested in bringing out. We're going to move it over here to this third of the image. Let's go ahead and turn off the cropping tool. And now we can see that this image it's a little bit more better defined for us, but I just introduced another distraction. And if I take a look down here, this part coming up, I'm not quite liking that. So let's play around with this just a little bit more. Again, I'm going to turn on that cropping tool. I'm going to bring this over just a tad. There we go. And actually, no, I'm not. I'm going to shrink this up a little bit. There we go. All right, let's turn off the cropping tool. That is so much better. So what happened is now I have layers in my image. I've got this layer here, which is not as prominent as it once was. I've got this layer that's through here. And then, of course, I got the layer in the background. Now, take a look at the two lines I drew. They're pretty similar, so we got a little bit of symmetry happening here. All right, let's get down to the fun part here. What I'm seeing in this image is that this area here, I want to bring out, make more pronounced. Now, this area down here could also be a bit interesting. See how the light of the rising sun is just starting to graze this part of the canyon. As for the rest of it, I need to tone it down. There's a lot of distraction happening in there, and it's really kind of blah. So let's see what we can do to select out that blah area that's not lit up and see if we can tone it down a bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here under masking. And I'm going to go under range, and I'm going to do a color range. And what I'm going to do next here is I'm going to select just this part of the image right through here. And let's see what this does for us. Now, as a whole, you guys can see that I've got most of the image selected. I also noticed that this part right here also had a little bit of is part of the selections. We're going to have to do something about that here in just a little bit. But you might be wondering why I have green highlighted, and you guys might have yours highlighted in red. So if you take a look up here in the upper right hand corner, this is where you can change the color highlight. I prefer green over red in this scenario because I got quite a bit of red in the rocks down here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Show Overlay, uncheck that, and it's still selected. The mask is still there. It's just that now we can make adjustments without having to worry about, without having to see through that green hue. All right, so we're going to play over here in the adjustment tools. And the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to play around with our contrast. Let's see what we can do here with the contrast. So I'm going to increase it just a little bit. And what I can see is that that is definitely toning things down in the background. Let's also play a little bit here with the whites. Can I bring those? And that's going to make it a little bit too gray. Let's try the shadows. Let's pull the shadows back. There we go. That helped to pull them back just a little bit. But I'm also getting a little worried that it's getting a little too blah back there. So I'll tell you what. Let's try this. Let's cool the temperature down just a tad bit. Nah, it's too much. Subtle little movements there. All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce the contrast just a little bit. Now let's go ahead and increase it. There we go. Increasing it definitely took it the right way. All right, so I definitely have reduced with the area around the primary lit area, the primary subject. I've definitely taken attention away from it, but I need to provide some more attention to the lit area. It's just not standing out. Now, since we use this mask, I'm going to use it again, but this time we're going to invert it. So up here, I'm going to go to mask 1. I'm going to rename the mask 1. This is going to be kind of like my background, so to speak. And then I'm going to duplicate that background, or duplicate the layer, which is called background. Next, I'm going to rename this to be my subject, which of course is the brighter area that we're working with. All right, now when I click on the Show Overlay, I can see that it's the same mask that we used previously, and I don't want to use that, so we're going to invert it. So going back up to here on the subject, I'm going to select it and I'm going to invert it. And when I do that, the focus primarily is going to shift to what I'm interested in, but you can also see down here in this area, it's also picking up a lot of this. So what we're going to do is we're going to do an intersecting mask. What an intersecting mask allows us to do is to combine the effects of multiple mask types. And we're going to do an intersecting mask with a brush, and we're going to paint the areas that we're interested in. So up here, we're going to go to our subject, and we're going to choose an intersect mask with a brush. All right, now I've got a little bit of feathering happening with this brush. I'm going to make it just a little bit bigger for the start of this exercise. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint, but I'm going to be very careful to leave the brush out of the cliff that's nearest to us so we don't select any of that area. So here we go. Now you guys can see I'm being very careful not to touch that cliff. We'll handle filling in a little bit later on. All right, I'm going to try and stay in just these shaded areas. And now I need to make my circle smaller. So I'm going to hold Control and roll my mouse wheel to make it smaller. And then I'm going to go back in and get a little bit closer to this cliff over here. We'll get a little bit closer here. I'm going to go ahead and try and capture some of the area in here. There, I can see got a little bit down here. And then I'm going to shrink it a little bit more. Oop, too far there. There we go. A little bit more. And focus on highlighting some of this area. I got to be careful because some of those darker areas were also part of the highlights. So that's why it's kind of filling in there. But I think we got a good one going here. Wait, I see a little bit more we could do right in here. There we go. You know what? Let's take this part. It's kind of lit up a little bit. Okay. I think we've got it. So let's go ahead and remove the show overlay. And what I can see over here is that we have the same settings as what we just applied to the overall mask. So I'm going to undo those because remember, this was kind of affecting that area. And that's going to take this back to more of a neutral area, more of, essentially out of camera is what this part of the image is now exposed as. So let's see what we can do to bring this out. I'm going to go over to the sliders here. And I'm going to slightly increase the saturation, not too much. Now, we got to remember here is that we want to make sure that we're doing very subtle movements. And that kind of amplified the colors a little bit. I want to see if we can amplify them a little bit more, but not make it to the point they're just blaring out at us. So let's take a look here. I'm going to play a little bit with contrast, and we'll go ahead and increase the contrast slightly. And you guys see if I go too far, it's just too much. It makes the colors just kind of scream. We don't want that. All right. So, and let's see if I can bring out the highlights just a tad, and that's going to kind of desaturate it a little bit. So I'm going to bring them down just a little bit. And that's going to make the colors a little bit more richer. All right, now when it comes to the whites, I'm going to darken the whites down just a little bit. And you see that kind of toned it back, but I think it went a little too far. So let's try with the blacks. There we go. That's much better. Now I don't want to go too far because obviously it's going to look very fake if we do it too far. So I'm going to bring it back up just a little bit. All right, there you guys see I did a -7 on the black. So I am much, much happier with this image. So what we're going to do here is we're going to play around with just another setting. I'm going to turn off my mask. And now I'm going to work with the Dehaze tool. I'm just going to play just a little bit of Dehaze and see what it does for us. So I'm slightly increasing the dehaze. Oh yeah, that does wonders. Now I didn't want to use the dehaze at first because that would affect everything too much. By making these selections, I can do just a little bit of dehaze, get it just to the point where our colored part, the lit part, is lit up, but it's not overwhelming, and the darker regions are dark, but not too dark. We got to have balance here. All right, I think we've got it. So let's take a look here. So here's the image we just created. By hitting the backslash, it will revert the image back to its original form, and hitting the backslash again, we can see how much of an improvement that we've made on this photo. So our eye is drawn. It's going to be partially caught by this right here, and it's going to draw our attention into this brighter area that's right here. And then there's more to the story. There's more for the viewer to look at because then they'll start to notice the drama of the clouds coming over the north rim with the dusting of snow. So we have both warm hues and we have cool color tones as well in this photo, along with several points of interest. But the primary point of interest is definitely standing out. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure you give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Now, for those of you who've been following me for the last few weeks in these episodes, thank you very much for helping me out, testing out this new video equipment that I've installed to help me generate better videos for you. Stay tuned for more photography adventures, and I'll see all of you next week. Take care.